Overdrive. Today we drive the new generation Mercedes-Benz E-Class, bring you up to speed with the upcoming Skoda Kylaq and enjoy the city on the retro-themed BSA Goldstar 650 motorcycle. Hello and welcome to Overdrive. I am Soini Dutt. The 2025 Mercedes-Benz E-Class long wheelbase quite literally takes the iconic E-Class to new heights and also stretches the benchmark for executive sedans. Rohit Paradkar will tell you all about it.
We are in that era of the Indian luxury car market where long wheelbase cars could become as common as smartphones. And here is Mercedes-Benz flexing its Germanic muscles with the new E-Class. Like the outgoing W213, the new W214 long wheelbase is again exclusive to India in its right-hand drive avatar. It's here to remind you of two things. One, it kick-started the long wheelbase trend. And two, in this space, size does matter, especially when you're going to be chauffeured around. Even if you were to squint, you will not mistake this to be its regal cousin, the S-Class, because you see there's this nice kink in the headlights, which also makes sure that the E-Class looks nothing like the rest of its stablemates. Then you have the longer wheelbase, 15 millimeters longer now for a total of 3094. Still not as long as the standard wheelbase of the S-Class, but longer than the outgoing car. Then you also get these flush door handles. These, along with this quarter glass, which unlike the global E-Class where it sits on the door, here it sits on the bodywork. So all of this comes together to make the new E-Class feel like a younger S-Class than a grown-up C. It looks every bit a stately limo, and despite rolling on 18-inch wheels, its proportions somehow still appear graceful. You also get the three-pointed stars in the grille, which is okay, but I think they've gotten a bit too carried away with it. Those stars have even popped up in the tail lights. I mean, what's the need for that? The E-Class continues in the tradition of brewing an understated elegance, a kind of quiet confidence that whispers, "I have arrived," without needing to shout it. It appears even more elegant and poised in the lighter colors. And for those looking at the 200 badge on the boot, don't be fooled into thinking you're driving the entry-level afterthought. The E200 zips along quite happily, feeling sprightly rather than sluggish, and even the exhaust note piped through the speakers adds a touch of sportiness. Of course, that engine may not have the brawn of its bigger siblings, but it won't leave you bored either. And that exhaust note being amplified through the speakers, I think it's a nice touch considering how silent this cabin can get. Oh, and speaking of the cabin, the ambient lighting sort of creates a lasso around all the seats. It goes from behind the rear seats as well, and that makes for a very nice lounge-like experience. But as you would expect with the E-long wheelbase, the real party piece is of course the rear seats. So you can also extend the under-thigh support by about 40 millimeters, which is a good touch. You can also recline the seats. Honestly, the only thing missing is the in-flight meal. But there's also no 3-pin plug to charge your old school gadgets. But for all your newfangled tech, there are enough USB-C ports in here. There's a wireless charger. So all your new age phablets, laptops, they should be fine. Mercedes has thrown in an air purification package too, which is practically a necessity in India's urban jungles. At the front, the 3-screen infotainment setup feels like it has been pulled straight from the S-Class. And that's not a bad thing. We are in an age where we love screens, so this kind of a setup definitely works. But let's be honest here. This car is for those who are going to be chauffeur-driven, those who are going to be in the back seat more often, not for those who are going to fiddle with tech in the front. So from that perspective, if I was spending that kind of money, I would have liked more screens at the back, which at the moment there are none. But in case you are the social media type who insists on documenting every moment, Mercedes-Benz has thoughtfully added a selfie camera to the dashboard. Not kidding. Being a Mercedes-Benz, you can rest assured that the car doesn't skimp on safety. Every nook and corner of this cabin is protected with airbags. The ride quality is quintessential E-Class, silky smooth and utterly serene. The high-profile tires help too, softening out the bumps and the potholes with aplomb. I'm driving on some poor road conditions right now, and I am completely blown away by the kind of ride that it has. Why am I so excited? It's a Mercedes-Benz, right? It's supposed to feel cushy, but this is the E200, so no adaptive dampers or any that kind of trickery in here. But that setup is so well engineered, especially for our road conditions. It's just perfect. I simply love it. What does leave me a bit wanting are the brakes. I think that should have been fixed, especially in the sport mode. It could have been a little bit more bitey. That's the only grudge I have from them. Otherwise, they're pretty confidence-inspiring. What is a big revelation is the steering. If I were to blindfold you, or if I were to just hide the logo on the steering, you will not believe it's a Mercedes-Benz. And I say it in a good way, because we've experienced this in the past where some of the older steering systems from Mercedes-Benz, they felt a bit too artificial, a bit too laid back, a little lazy. This one just feels on point. I know it's a business sedan and not a sports sedan, but I just love the steering as well. The steering and the suspension also help mask the enormous length of this car, and not just winding roads. Even in the congested cities like Mumbai, Pune, Delhi, Bangalore, Hyderabad, that length never becomes unnerving. Another impressive bit is the ground clearance. Now, on our usual driving road, we have these few tall speed humps. I'm approaching one right now, where with the S-Class, with the older E-Class, we've had these butt-clenching moments. We've had to go maybe cross like that to make sure that the underbody doesn't scrape. But here, with the E-Class, I can simply approach them, no problem at all. It just takes on all of this quite nicely. So yes, it's not an SUV. It does have its restrictions because it's a saloon, but it is made for India. It handles all of this quite well. The other made for India bits also include a really robust warranty package, service packages, and of course, a very good assured buyback or residual value for the E-Class. Now, just a few things that I'll wish for to complete that in-cabin experience for the E-Class is a slightly more silent air conditioning experience, better air conditioning experience in terms of ventilated seats, at least for the rear seat occupants, if not for the front. And the last bit that I would want is those screens at the back that I spoke of. I think that would just complete the package. But as far as the powertrain responses go, as far as the powertrain performance goes, as far as the performance of the suspension goes, even without the adaptive dampers, I am very, very impressed. If you are after a car that lets you stretch out in style while your driver handles the boring bits, this would be it.
Well, as you can see, the latest generation of the new E-Class long wheelbase variant is just as exciting, if not more so, than the previous generation. We'll be back after a very short break to tell you all we can about the new Skoda Kylaq. Welcome back, here with us on Overdrive. Now, Skoda might be late to the compact SUV party, but they're garnering a lot of interest in this segment, even in its camouflage form. And I say camouflage because Kranti was in Coimbatore recently to drive this SUV, and here's all he can say about it without giving away too much.
Indians have named it. The Indian plant will produce it for the Indian and international markets, and the global premiere of the Skoda Kylaq will happen in India. The product will carry the Kylaq badge in every international market. This is the first time we see Skoda trying a segment that is less about premium positioning and more about value. This segment is the largest chunk of the Indian car market and has several options. With 95% localization, Skoda management is promising competitive pricing. But is that the only factor influencing this segment's buying decision? And how does this car measure up against those parameters? We will find that out soon, but not in this video. Today, we are going to drive the Skoda Kylaq just to experience the drive and handling of this car.
So question number one, what is Skoda Kylaq? So this is going to be the subcompact SUV segment offering from Skoda. And as you know, this segment is growing fast, lots of competition, around 10 to 11 if we exclude Skoda and Volkswagen products like Kylaq and Taygun. And if we talk about the product, this is based on MQB platform, and since this car is coming the subcompact SUV segment, the length has to be below 4000 mm, so this is 3995 mm. Just for your reference, Kylaq is around 4225 mm. Otherwise, the width of this car, the platform is similar. So in that case, the dimensions have changed as far as length is concerned. Question number 2, what kind of engine options are we going to see in this Kylaq? So right now Skoda is hinting at 1-liter TSI engine, which is producing around 116 PS and 178 Newton meters of torque. This will be mated to 6-speed automatic or 6-speed manual transmission. So basically just single engine options we are going to see. As far as fuel efficiency is concerned, so you'll have to wait till the global premiere of this car. Then we might get the official tested fuel efficiency figure for Skoda Kylaq. Now, in case you were wondering what could be the expected price for this Skoda Kylaq, as far as Skoda top management is concerned, if you watch our previous interviews, they have claimed that they are going to price it really aggressively. This is going to be most aggressively priced car in India from Skoda. And plus, according to their own presentations, we have seen they want to compete with Brezza, Nexon, maybe Venue, Sonnet, those kind of cars. So we can expect the pricing to be in that bracket. But at the same time, we have also seen lots of efforts from Skoda to keep it really aggressive and competitive. And that is the reason their car is localized up to 95%. This is designed and engineered in India. And they're also planning to increase the touch points of Skoda in India. Now, the most common questions, how's the interior, what kind of features are we looking at, how's the space, how's the comfort? So these are the questions we cannot answer right now. As we told you, this is a covered drive, this is their international format, and that's why when they invited us for this covered drive, we said yes, because we have seen lots of buzz around camouflage cars, we have seen your interest in spy pigs, and even we wanted to be part of a feedback process where we understand how this car is being developed.
Now the safety bit. Kylaq comes with a claim of best in segment front crash module and gets 25 safety features standard, including 6 airbags, traction and stability control, anti-lock brakes, brake disc wiping, electronic differential lock, etc.
Now the question which we can answer, and that is the drive and handling of this car. How is this Skoda Kylaq to drive, and how does it handle on the track? And I guess now I understand why Skoda chose this Coimbatore track to test this car, because this is going to be its USP. This is what I feel. On the speed track, this felt composed, confident. On corners, it felt very calm. And the handling was really good. So even on high speeds, on corners, this performs really well. And this segment, this is going to be its USP, I feel. And the star of this whole act, or star of this whole episode, I think, is the suspension, because the kind of setup we are seeing on this suspension in this segment, this is going to be an enthusiast car. They like the drive of this car on the corners, on the straight, on the gravel track also. I sat on the front seat and second row, and on the gravel track also. It was not like typical 4x4 off-roading section, but at the same time, it was really uneven, and the kind of tracks or roads we see when we leave the highways. And those kind of tracks, the passenger or the cabin felt composed and pretty comfortable. So in this segment, I think handling and performance, they're two things which are going to be the USP of this Skoda Kylaq.
The Kylaq is expected to globally launch in India on 6 November and is expected to have a very competitive pricing. We'll get you all the details from the launch floor. We'll take a very quick break here on the show right now, but come right back because we'll tell you all about the new BSA Goldstar 650, a retro-themed roadster motorcycle. Welcome back here with us on Overdrive. Now, the BSA Roadster 650 has finally made it to India, but does it make sense owning the largest single-cylinder retro-themed roadster motorcycle out here today? Let's find out.
As always, history and heritage go hand in hand. Now, history tells us about hardships and certain struggles that we've learned from the past. It shows us where we've come from before and what we have come to today. And in terms of heritage, well, that shows us the different values that we hold true, that we like to carry forward to generations in the future. And especially when you consider a motorcycle brand like BSA, in terms of history and heritage, well, the company is rich in those two very aspects. So in terms of design of this new Goldstar 650, you might have heard a lot of talk about this new motorcycle trying to mimic, well, the design and aspirational values of the older generation of motorcycles. And for your visual delight, I have with me out here today a 1959 DBD 34. And as you can see, in really pristine condition in terms of design, how similar they actually are.
The color scheme of this new Legends Edition model is quite similar to what you had in the bikes of old. The sizable fenders on both ends, particularly the holdings on the rear, look quite similar. So does the round halogen headlamp, the front suspension with the fog covers. I love the twin pod readout that's modelled after the old Smiths dials, and although it's a lovely old school touch, I'm not particularly a fan of the way these new needles move about. While the old bikes had a headlight mounted ammeter, you now have a small circular display which shows you all the warning and indication lights, which is neat touch indeed. And it doesn't end just there. They've also tried to replicate the old engine side casings, which are a good throwback to the Goldies of a bygone era. I also think that the 150 section tyre on the 17 at the rear adds some much desired drawn to the rear of the bike as well. Overall, I find the new bike to be extremely neat and tidy.
Now, even in the past, these BSA motorcycles were known for their precise machine bits and, of course, their long stroke single-cylinder engines. Outcome, well, civilians are going to go racing, and that paved the way for a lot of aftermarket bits, race kits and the like. Now, this motorcycle stays true in that real tradition because this single-cylinder 650cc engine, it produces 45 PS of max power, 55 Nm of max torque, and above 3,500 RPM, this thing just wants to fly. While the motorcycle might look to be a lazy cruiser style motorcycle, well, it really proves otherwise. Above 3000 RPM, it just wants to take off, and it's really entertaining and good fun out on the road.
The old BSA Goldstars were mighty fast back in the day. I mean, speed had pretty much everything to do with the name Goldstar in the first place. It all began with a British motorcycle racer named Walter Hanley earning himself a Brooklyn's Gold Star Award by lapping the pioneering bank circuit in Surrey with a top speed of 107 miles per hour astride a 500cc BSA Empire Star back in 1937. Now, BSA drew inspiration from this outstanding achievement and came out with its first M24 Goldstar model the following year. So, every Goldstar model that came out from that point on had to be capable of achieving, if anything, that feat at least. In true old school fashion, there's some lovely vibes to be felt with this one, and it'll only get a bit bothersome once you cross the 130 kmph mark. But the way this bike pulls from low down the power band is just awesome. There's a lovely wave of city speeds in third gear. Even though there's just 5 gears on this Goldie, you won't really miss 6th with the way things are laid out. You'll be cruising at 80 km per hour at around 3000 RPM in 5th, which is a complete vibe. Or even 100 km per hour at 4000 RPM, the bike feels like it's just getting started if you're ready to throw down the gauntlet.
Now, to conclude matters, the BSA Goldstar that we have out here today, the 650, well, it is a brilliant transition from the old legacy motorcycles, the old motorcycles down to the new generation. The Mahindra Group, a Classic Legends, has done a spectacular job because this is a high quality machine that still maintains a good amount of pace, precision and, well, beauty.
With that, it's a wrap on this week's edition of Overdrive. But remember, you can stay in touch with the team through our various social media platforms, and you can write to us on YouTube as well. We'll see you next week. Until then, drive and ride safe.